You can never imagine the Microsoft of 1990 creating a product that would help its competitors. Creating a product allowed people to run an operating system not under its control, and run programs even less under Microsoft's control. They went from hackers that are interested in making anything cool that people might want into no, we have to do things that create this puzzle such that we just keep getting this flow of money. I find that interesting, that the very same people's behavior would change, and I think part of it is this focusing on money as the token and making these equivalencies. That may or may not be true. I'm investigating that. But you seem to be avoiding that. And you have a long list of interesting problems, which we could talk about. But none of that means that we can't focus on money and how that abstraction works. And I feel it's worthwhile because you still seem to be denying that there's any other abstraction that could work. You're saying no, think this through as many ways as you want, and you will have this abstraction, and that's simply not the case. I mean, if you wrote a program on eBay to satisfy complicated barter exchanges, that would not include money, and yet you seem to think, oh, it would. It would. Why do you say that? Where's the variable? Let's draw a system design. Why? I think the variables would relate to real goods in that situation. And the value would actually not be directly abstracted. That would just be left to the personal valuations of the people making the exchange. Um, I also have said that I'm not saying that money has no role. I think that there would obviously be a role for something similar to current money, but instead of basing everything on money, there might be other ways of doing trades and valuations, other ways of circulating goods so that the way we circulate, let's say, goods to survive, like clean air, clean water, energy, access to transportation, that could actually be different with its own kind of money or its own kind of trade, its own system designed to circulate these things that need to be circulated. And there could be another system, and maybe we just use money as we understand it now for buying Ferraris and so on and so forth. Um, don't say that because we're focusing on this issue right now that I'm saying it's the biggest problem in the world. Again, we need a cure to Alzheimer's. It doesn't mean we can't discuss, uh, you know, some rule in our favorite sports. It's not an argument against, discussing uh, what, how onside kicks should work in American football because, oh, there's something more important. Yeah, there's something more important. That person might talk about it, other people might be talking about it. It's just not an argument um, towards the subject. If you are discussing your favorite sport, then the need for medical research is just not an argument about. Yeah, it's more important, this medical research question. And if somebody never talks about it, you could say, hey, why do you only ever talk about sports? But it's it's not a counter argument to whatever is being discussed. So there are a lot of other social problems, but I think it is clear that the desire to accrue more and more wealth, the desire for the rich to become richer and richer and richer, even once the money is just a number in an account that they can't possibly spend, even in investment and the rest. You know, I think that the abstraction we're using in money is related to that. Now, do we have to get rid of money to solve all of the world's problems? Um, I think probably we have to have something else to go along with it because there are these systematic issues. If you have a single absolute scale of value, then you're going to create the cognitive structures in people that react to that as if it was a material reality. That it really is possible to relate things of different value through this medium of money. And so, what do you think of that? Do you really think $100 worth of food has the same value as $100 of gold? Okay, so Um, if you think, well, that's not an important question, I think it's become important. You're saying that my criticisms of these things and my identifications of problems somehow are not legitimate or worthwhile because there's other issues and so on and so forth. And you're kind of repeating that. It's like uh, it starts off me saying, hey, you have this one direction accrual. You say it's simple. You just take it from where it accrues and move. It's like all the water in our system's going to one place. No problem. You just go get the water there. Well, but we need the water over there. Let's have a system where the water just is more naturally distributed. And and I've challenged you on the fact that if you use taxation and confiscation type solutions, those are kludges. And the main reason is because human nature, and you have to get a human to do that. And they don't consistently make those decisions. Um, well, they don't make those decisions consistently. A different person, another person comes in, you have an election where there's some issue that's more important, and so the person's not even being judged on their ability to make that confiscation correctly. Is that not a problem that we can discuss? Whether you could say whether that's true. Do you trust the ability of a democratic system to make those confiscations just by their own intuition and reasoning consistently? Do you really not think that a system where those decisions are sort of built in and come out of the exchange so that millions of people in aggregate through their behavior are making those decisions, wouldn't that be better than saying, hey, we can have it where it all pulls up and we'll just, take a human and fix it? Yeah, the system's messed up, but all we really need is the person to go ahead and move it around after it's all pooled up in the places we don't want it to move it around. You don't think that that's a valid criticism, that people can't make those decisions reliably and consistently, whereas an economic system ought to be able to have those decisions made in the aggregate? They still might not be made correctly, but it wouldn't be down to just one person. To me, a main issue of design where you find design flaws is when there's bottlenecks, you know. And if you have to go through a president to try to rectify, an economy of hundreds of millions of people, then that is a bottleneck, and there's an automatic problem with that. That person will get overloaded, and they will need to have too much knowledge about too many things. So, if you just want to talk about another thing, feel free. Bring up another issue you want to talk about, and we can start that way. But I had been in the ball had been in my court starting this video series, and you challenged me to say, oh, we'll say something wrong about money. I think I have, and I don't really see how you countered that. You're talking about the child, but you didn't talk about the broader philosophical issue about the fact that different kinds of value can often not be related. It's not just a dead child that can't really be related to a Ferrari. It's also food related to that Ferrari and other resources. I see a fundamental difference between the commodities that we need to survive, all of us as living animals, and in luxuries, and yet our system makes no difference. And so we have a conflict between a desire to achieve comfort and luxury and the desire to just survive.